Everyone, this is Schwaner and I'm with my terrorism class for the fall of 2020, and I'm going to just put down a quick welcome note here. I have been having monumental issues with doing these videos, so I'm going to make this one really quick again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with an old lecture that covers theory, and I'm going to have you in the announcement board look some things up so that you can get ready for this paper. But this paper on terrorism, I love this assignment. This one is, it allows you to be really, really thoughtful and flexible in how you approach this one. For example, in this assignment, I ask you to determine and discuss the patterns of terrorism in America. The last assignment that you turned in on Sunday, I gave you a country, and you looked up country and you looked up terrorism in that country. Let me tell you what, I've started skimming through those. They're fantastic. This whole entire semester I have learned that with a little bit of structure and a little bit of guidance, students can pull off some magic, because the papers I have received this term have been nothing short of fantastic. You have done a great job. I'm very satisfied. I'm very happy. And moving forward, even though I can't give you what I want to give you right now because of technical difficulties, I can give you little snippets and little pieces like this. So given the fact that it looks like I have an excellent connection at the moment, let me go ahead and use this time wisely for those of you in this terrorism class. In this assignment, you are asked to discuss patterns of terrorism in America. Now, if you recall the first lecture, the first semester, or the first day of class, I discussed that it is really a definitional issue. And those definitions are driven by ideology, common sense, philosophy, as well as theoretical orientation. So I'm going to give you a video from a different class, probably criminology or social environment, maybe social environment, where we will cover functionalism, conflict theory, symbolic interaction, because all of those are very pertinent to terrorism, right? So I'm going to have you look those up. But aside from the theory, and I'm not going to have a chance to explain it, what I want you to do is expand your horizons, right? And take a look at what is terror and what is terrorism. And based upon that, I want you to take a look at different ways of analyzing it. For example, you can take a look at what was the impact of 9/11 on the United States. What was the impact of Timothy McVeigh and Oklahoma City back in the 1990s? Is there something that we need to be concerned with people like the lone wolves, like the Unabomber? Should we be worried about the Michigan militia and other militia organizations throughout the United States? Is that where our energy should lie? Or should we be worried about ISIS, Al-Qaeda, infiltration? What about the Mexican cartels? Are those terrorist organizations? What about the Japanese or the Russian cartels or organized crime? Are those something that generate terror? Or maybe you want to take a look at it from a different type of perspective. What if we want to take a look at terror from a perspective of child abuse? Would you want to write something about child abuse in the United States? Would you want to write something about domestic violence in the United States? What about institutional forms of terror, where our access to resources are cut based upon social class or whatever it may be? Is that a form of terror? Is it terror when some people who are homeless can't find a home, even though we have vacancies all through Miami, all through the U.S.? In other words, if we take a look at terror and we start to expand the horizons by which we look at it, what topic can you find in this country that you think would be really interesting? Feel free to expand your mind. You can talk about the traditional forms of terrorism. I'm absolutely happy with that. You can take a look at the historical forms, the rise of the Ku Klux Klan, correct? So you can take a look, or the Order, or whatever these different groups are. I can't think of any right off the Aryan Nation. What about prison organizations, right? What about MS-13? What about these kind of groups? What about the Sinhalese and the different cartels? So anyhow, I want you to feel free to open up your horizons and really get after this. Doesn't have to be long, 2 to 3 pages. But what I want you to do is I want to make sure you frame it using a conceptual framework. Do not hit me with a description of what you're talking about. In other words, what I'd like for you to do is I'm going to give you a list of theories to look up and some terminology. Use those and go watch that video on how to write a great paper. It's only 2 minutes long, but that is a conceptual approach to how to write these papers. So what you do is you come up with some kind of conceptual framework in your introductory paragraph and write the word introduction. Now, we talked about this last time. Write the word introduction, write the word background, theory. Data, you can have data in this one. Data would probably make some sense, especially if you're talking about child abuse or domestic violence or human trafficking, whatever it is you're talking about. Analysis, conclusion, right? Draw those out. Be very clear in what you're talking about. Align your work, okay, so that you make an argument. You can talk about the Patriot Act. You can talk about the impact on our banking system, on our monetary system. You know, you can talk about the discussion between privacy versus safety, right? So you can couch this and frame this however you want. But I do want you to be thoughtful, and I think I'm going to go ahead and knock off here. But I'm going to give you some terms in the announcement board that I want you to look up to help you frame this. I'm going to give you another lecture from a different class that discusses theory. It's probably going to be from my social environment class. We did a pretty good job overviewing theory. And then let's go from there. I'm sorry I can't give you more lecture time. It just so happens it's frustrating for me too, knowing that, for example, I just did an hour and 15-minute lecture and it cut off and only kept 5 of it. Then I tried to do it again and it only lasted for 2 minutes. And I said, okay, if I can keep these short and sweet. Anyhow, I hope these help. Please, if you need to text me, please do text me. I'll be watching it pretty closely for the rest of the term. It's 305, let's see here, 305-755-2579, or you can hit me at 305-244-7801. Either one is fine right now. As I said, your paper is moved back to November the 25th, which is next Wednesday, so that I have some time to give you some feedback on the first paper. That way you don't feel all the pressure. But once again, I will say people are doing a fantastic job. It's a lot of self-driven, self-taught this semester, but people are definitely using that video, how to write a great paper, and it's showing. It's making a big difference. I wish you all the best. I'm going to cut it here so we don't lose it, and watch for more.